right, so the title of this class is Manchurian Candidate. Are you one in the making? I'm gonna say it again. The title of this class is Manchurian Candidate. Are you one in the making? So before we move on, let's find out what a Manchurian Candidate is. For some of you who haven't watched the movie, there's one that they made in I'm thinking either the 60s or the 70s. That's the original. And then they also made one later on with Denzel Washington in it. Both of them are good. All right? Both of them show how the human mind can be changed, both knowingly and unknowingly. All right? And that's what this class is going to go into. It's going to show you how you need to guard your mind against the outside influences of the world. Because this world is constantly trying to get back in. You think you kicked it all out, and now Christ is the only one in your mind, but rest assured, devil will come knocking back at that door trying to get back in. All right? All right. So I'm going to read it. The title of, Manchurian Candidate is a person, especially a politician, being used as a puppet by an enemy power. The term is commonly used to indicate disloyalty or corruption, whether intentional or unintentional. I want you to remember those two words, Israel, intentional or unintentional. It is possible to be intentional in your disloyalty. It's possible to be intentional when you decide to turn against the truth. It's also possible in an unintentional way to be corrupted. And I'm going to go more into it as we get into this class, all right? Let's drop some of them videos. Let me get the first video on Manchurian Candidate. Let's see. Yeah, that one. Put that up on the screen.
So many people love to jump online to immediately this guy was a Manchurian Candidate, or this guy was somehow co-opted by somebody.
Pause. If y'all don't recognize some of these individuals who did some serious things back in the days. I think the first man was the one who assassinated JFK. I'm not sure though. And I think this one right here was the one who did that terrorist act in Boston. I would think that was for the marathon. All right, keep going.
FBI or whatever, and manipulated to do this. And it makes a lot of sense, and it's easy to draw connections to that kind of thing. But how much of that do you think is real or that goes on today?
I think it probably still goes on. It's not about the technique. A lot of people think you need all this training. I'm going to inject this person. I'm going to do secret messages into their brain using some machine or something like that. If I'm an authority in a person's life and I say, hey man, you know what you need to do? You need to go do that. You go do that thing to that person. That's all it really takes. Because it's not about the right skills, it's about the ability to select the right candidate. If you just look at it in terms of, am I selecting the right person to do this? It's 1,000 times easier. And you don't need some giant agency who's doing this. It's often not some agency. It's usually a group of people with a special interest.
Did you hear what he said? He literally said that it's not some special technique that they do in order to try to turn someone's mind, to try to influence it. The most important thing he said right there, you got to look for the right candidate. Candidate, right? Why? Because their mind is the most susceptible. Why is their mind the most susceptible? Because they're not fully rooted in whatever belief or doctrine that they're in right now. And there's something about them that the enemy sees that, you know what? I can get to this person right here. This right here is their weakness. This is what they're battling with. For us in the truth, this person is dealing with this type of sin. So you know what? I see it. We can capitalize on that and get this person to do what we want. Versus somebody else who doesn't have that type of weakness, who isn't battling that type of sin, they're less susceptible. They're less of a candidate that you want to come at. So he's literally saying when you're dealing with somebody and you want to corrupt them, it's not about the technique. It's about the person that you're trying to corrupt. Remember that. All right, let me get the second video on social media is programming. Social media is programming. And also, just as a side note, it made me think of this scripture where the devil is a roaring lion seeking who he might be able to devour, going up and down the earth, right? Likewise, think about how it really works in a safari or in the wildlands. A lion is not looking for every single gazelle or zebra or what have you. Who's he looking for? He's looking for the sick, for the weak. That's who he's going to go for because they're the easiest to catch. Likewise, in this truth, you got to literally do some self-examination and see what you're weak in, because that's where the enemy's going to try to come at you. That's where they're going to try to corrupt you. They're going to try to influence your brain to try to get you to turn against God, turn against this truth. All right, let's play that video.
Social media is rewiring human beings faster than any hypnotist alive could even dream about.
Pause. So social media truly is a double-edged sword. We do use social media to try to reach our people, but make no mistake about it, it is a double-edged sword. It has done so much damage, even to Esau's society. Even Esau is recognizing this right now. They're recognizing the immense damage that social media is doing right now, how much it's dividing their own society. And I want to do a class on that in the future too, one on the coming civil war that's coming to this nation right here. But social media, it is one of the worst things to happen to society. It really is. Because it's dividing society, causing a whole bunch of people to get radicalized, causing a whole bunch of people to be divided according to doctrines and ideologies that they might not have known about in the past because they didn't have access to all this information overload. Continue on.
Social media is rewiring human beings faster than any hypnotist alive could even dream about. That little screen in your hand right now, or maybe your TV or your laptop, that is the laboratory for all of this stuff, and you are the rat. If you had some little piece of resistance inside you that says, maybe not me, that's probably just ego.
Pause. Notice how he said, oh, if it's your ego that's saying that, oh, I'm not being influenced by social media, or I'm not being influenced by anything. Every single one of us, whether here or watching online, every single person in the world, you've been influenced by something. You didn't just come out believing what you believe. I know some of us want to think, oh, I'm not a follower. Like, I'm an independent. What's the phrase I'm thinking about when they say that, they think in a unique way. Damn, I'm trying to think about it. How's it? What's that? Anybody could think? It's like, I don't think like anybody else. I'm a unique thinker. There's an old saying that you hear people who are that confident saying that. I'm trying to really remember it. It's not coming to my mind though. Nah, it's not it. But anyhow, these are people who believe that they have original thought. They believe that everything they have in their mind, they thought themselves. They believe so highly in their own mind that they believe that nobody taught them anything, that they just came out the vagina thinking how they think, right? But that's a lie. Each and every one of us have been influenced. Each and every one of us have had our brains washed by something, all right? Whether it be schools, the books that you read from the library, the things that you see on social media, your parents, anything you could think of where some type of data or information came into your mind, guess what? That influenced you. It influenced you. So you need to take that into account. Remove that ego and just start to ponder upon it, think upon it. What has influenced me to be the person that I am today? What influenced me to be the person that I was before the truth? Right? Because you was influenced that time, but now you're supposed to be getting influenced by this right here, by being amongst other people right now who are sick just like you, trying to get themselves right. Play.
that we're all a part of. It's triggering amygdala, it's echo chambers, it's massive amounts of repetition, and it becomes our identity over time. There are three things that flip a script in a human being's head. The first thing is isolation. If I have somebody in isolation, we're missing some key base levels to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's no real tribe, there's no real safety, there's not a lot of belonging. Level
Pause.
2 would be an
So you hear that, right? Talking about one of the top ways for your mind to be changed and influenced is to be in isolation. If you're by yourself, you're not amongst what he said, a tribe. If you ever heard of Maslow's order of needs, one of the things is that we all need to be a part of something. Humans were not designed to be alone. God designed us to be a part of a nation. Matter of fact, there were 18 nations in the beginning. He didn't say, oh, there were 6 million individuals on the planet in the beginning. He said nations, right? So he's saying that when you're isolated, you're more susceptible. Likewise, in this truth, if you are one of them Jude 19 brothers or sisters by yourself, you're far more susceptible to enemy influence, to them changing your mind and causing you to rise up in insurrection against this truth, against God. You're way more susceptible. Scriptures say that there is safety in the multitude of counselors. Are you by yourself a lot? You think you're going to be able to do this on your own? This is not an individual walk. God has called us to come back together as a nation. Finish it off.
Key base levels to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's no real tribe, there's no real safety, there's not a lot of belonging. Level 2 would be an echo chamber. And this is a placebo of social connection online, a placebo of information. And it feels like truth, but it is just engineered bullshit. And number 3 is massive repetition. So this is just rage on a loop until it burns into somebody's nervous system. And that's not persuasion. That's not influence, it's programming. That's absolute programming.
So you heard him.
Social media.
He said number 2 ultimately is going into you constantly have, number 3, he said that one is going into constant repetition to the point it gets burned into your mind, right? So if you're constantly engaging in things that's outside of this right here, you're constantly getting your mind influenced by social media or any kind of worldly influence over and over and over and over again, it's going to get burned into your mind. That's what it says right there. You are what you constantly put your attention on. If it's not this right here, then whatever you're putting your attention on, eventually you're going to start to act upon it. It's going to become who you are. From there, let's draw up the chat GPT on chat GPT on the Manchurion candidate. Khalil, you read this, start from the top.
In modern contexts, in the age of social media, algorithms, and information warfare, many analysts warn that unintentional Manchurian candidates can emerge when people are influenced by targeted content or foreign disinformation campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Algorithms amplify polarizing content that changes beliefs and loyalty subtlety. Algorithms amplify polarizing content that changes beliefs and loyalty subtly.
Yep.
Emotional manipulation, fear, outrage, belonging overrides critical thinking.
So I want you to notice this is going into the unintentional Manchurian candidate. Remember I spoke about earlier when we first started that there's the intentional Manchurian candidate and then there's the unintentional Manchurian candidate, right? So we're reading about the unintentional Manchurian candidate. Let's read on.
Push it up a little bit. In short, an unintentional Manchurian candidate is someone who, through social, ideological, or informational manipulation ends up acting in the service of another person, of another power's or group's goals without knowing it.
So this right here is a person who unintentionally, right? Somebody didn't just like literally try to come to him and coerce him into believing it, or didn't just directly teach that person, right? This is a person who more or less got most of the time influenced by their environment that they're around. They just took on, they saw the popular persuasion and all the things that's going on around them, and eventually they got influenced by it, right? So intentional is literally like a direct application by somebody to try to change you. Unintentional, no, and also, I want to also give a further part of an intentional Manchurian candidate. This is a person who deliberately, right, knowingly goes after what they, something that's outside of the truth, something that's wicked to satisfy their needs. This could be like what is that man who betrayed Fred Hampton? I can't remember his name, right? He was influenced by his desire for money, to be free, to continue to have his freedom so he wouldn't have to go to jail, right? He wasn't influenced necessarily by his environment, more by his own desire to have his own needs met, his own selfish needs met, right? Where somebody who's an unintentional Manchurian candidate, this is a person who is manipulated unknowingly to do somebody else's will, right? He didn't necessarily go because he wanted to meet some particular lust or need, but over time, somebody just chipped away with, information overload, social media. They just got corrupted over time. And eventually, they start to feel that they're right in going against the truth. You understand? Let's read on.
That guy's name was William O'Neill.
William O'Neill, that was him, the one who betrayed Fred Hampton. He was an example of an intentional Manchurian candidate in the sense that he ultimately decided to go against Fred Hampton, to betray Fred Hampton for his own personal need. He just, like that, just literally, how did the story go or the movie go? He got caught, FBI came, and they offered him money and also not to go to jail as well because he was looking at some time. So he took him up on that, decided to go against the interests of his own community and his own people for his own self-benefit. We're going to see some examples of people like that in the scriptures as well. All right? All right. Let's read on. Was that it?
Says for the unintentional Manchurian candidate, they aren't villains, spies, or traitors. They're pawns shaped by invisible influence.
So I disagree with ChatGPT on this, and this is why you always need to be very wary of ChatGPT. It's not 100% correct. You can't believe everything that AI says because AI is influenced by human thinking. At the end of the day, it says they aren't villains, spies, or traitors. They're pawns, right? Yeah, they are pawns. But to say that somebody isn't a villain, a spy, or a traitor, if you do something unknowingly and it's evil, are you still not a villain or a spy or a traitor? If somebody convinces you to go and steal some information for the benefit of the United States, you're still a villain. You're still a spy. You understand? So let's read on. Let's finish this part off. Let's go to the next one. Yep. Nope, the other one. Let's just finish this off right here. Go ahead.
Unintentional Manchurian candidate. An unintentional Manchurian candidate would be someone who acts in the interest of another power, ideology, or group without realizing that their actions are serving that external agenda. There's no deliberate brainwashing, just psychological, social, or ideological conditioning that subtly shapes their behavior. In other words, they aren't programmed, but they've absorbed narratives, habits, or goals that make them act as if they were. Examples in abstract terms: a citizen or influencer who unknowingly spreads propaganda or disinformation produced by a foreign government, believing they're just sharing the truth.
Yeah, we've had some people come in here who believe that they know something that we don't know. And then they'll come in here and try to spread some type of heresy. But where did they learn that from? Right? Now, some individuals, they might have decided that, you know what? I'm going to watch another camp. And that caused them to believe something that is contrary to the doctrine that we teach here in Israel United in Christ. And then there's other individuals who might, what's the word I'm thinking here? They might have ultimately read some book somewhere, right? Maybe Egyptology, some book on Egyptology, what have you, and thought to themselves, I've learned something new here. So let me come and try to introduce this in Israel United in Christ. See if I can try to change this because I believe this to be the truth. They got influenced right there. Influenced by a book, by a video, and it caused them to activate and to try to preach heresy and doctrines of another group or another organization or another nation or another people inside the body. Read on, finish it off.
Other examples: a politician whose policy views are shaped by hidden lobbying or foreign media narratives, thinking they're acting independently. A tech user who constantly amplifies content crafted to polarize or destabilize society.
And we see this a lot. We see this a lot, not only from our enemies, but we see this in society as a whole, right? There's a lot of division going on nowadays, a lot of division. And you see this right now, particularly from the blue against the reds. We see this now going on amongst the political violence that's going on in this country. People getting assassinated now, right? Simply for what they believe in. Why? Because usually it starts somewhere online in some little chat room in the backwoods where somebody gets radicalized, gets changed. They start to believe something. And then over time, over and over again, it gets reinforced. And now they're going out killing people. Don't be tricked or fooled. The scriptures let us know that there are going to be people who come into this body, they learn this, but eventually, what's going to happen? They're going to get offended. They're going to turn against the brotherhood. They're going to ultimately join hand in hand with our enemies, and they're going to feel that they're right to do so. Some of them, they might not feel, they know they're doing something wrong, but ultimately, they just don't care, right? There's going to be different levels of villains that ultimately leave this truth. We've already dealt with it. For those of us who was here in 2018, and there's going to be more to come. There's going to be more Manchurion candidates who are going to suddenly activate and decide that they want to become the enemies of God and the enemies of their own people. Was that it? I believe that was, right? All right, let's go to Romans 15, verse 4. Romans 15, verse 4.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Everything that was written aforetime for our learning, so that we can see what went down then and what's going to go down again in the future. No new thing under the sun. So we're going to know how we're able to deal with it, just like how our forefathers and foremothers dealt with it. In these scriptures are the solutions. So we're going to go and look at an example of someone in the scriptures who, in my opinion, is a great example of a Manchurion candidate. He just suddenly activated and turned against the Messiah. And we know who that is, Judas Iscariot. One thing I do love about the scriptures of the first four books of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, John, Luke, is that each one of them, when you read them, they give you different, but the same story, but they give you different other things or accounts that flesh out things even more so you can understand even more of what was going on. That's why you want to become well acquainted with the books of Mark, Matthew, John, and Luke. All right, so we're going to read Matthew chapter 26.
Start at 6.
That's right. Start at verse 6.
The book of Matthew, chapter 26, and verse 6. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when the disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that the woman hath done be told for a memorial of her.
All right, so we see right here, this is one of the things that we constantly read after camp to show the example that this woman right here did. But who was this woman right here? What was her name? Who knows what her name was? It was Mary, right? Notice how it doesn't necessarily go too much into where it says right here in these scriptures that we just read that it was Mary. But when we read the different accounts, you're going to see that it was Mary. All right? So I also want you to see right here, when we read, it says, let me see. But in verse 8, but when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? And once again, once we read in the other accounts, it's going to flesh it out a little bit more about who exactly was leading the charge on that indignation and that anger of this woman doing this great act for Christ, because Christ was about to sacrifice himself for the children of Israel. All right? We'll read on. Let's read.
Verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests, and said unto them, What will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenant with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time, he sought opportunity to betray him.
So from that time, he saw opportunity on how he could betray Christ. Just looking for the opportunity. From that moment on. Now, we're going to read some other examples to see how it is exactly that Judas Iscariot became activated at that point. If you look in the movies of the Manchurion Candidate, you'll see that these men in the movies were so heavily indoctrinated when they was captured by the enemy, right? They was just put through unknown time of constant propaganda, constantly having their brains brainwashed by the enemies that captured them, right? That eventually they came to believe. And not only that, but the enemy instilled in them a type of activation code where eventually all they would have to do is call on the phone and say a certain phrase, and these soldiers would just be, the men who got captured and on the battlefield, they would just be activated, and they would do whatever they was told, right? Now, at the end of the day, we know that if you read the multiple examples of the Manchurion candidate, that it's not necessary to have this level of advanced brainwashing put upon you, right? You don't need some activation code. It could just be simply over and over again propagandizing you to believe something to the point where eventually you on their side. You believe it. All right? It's burned into your soul like one of the earlier videos said. All right? But we're going to see how Judas Iscariot became activated. Let's go to the book of John, chapter 12, verse 1 and 8. He was activated on a spiritual level. The scripture is about to let you know.
The book of John, chapter 12, and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served. But Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed his feet Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair.
So now it's given the name of the woman in this account right here, in the account of John. There you go. Read.
And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment.
Uh-huh.
Then saith one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him.
Uh-huh.
Why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor?
Notice that, right? Notice how it literally says the person who was leading this dissension right here, notice how he tries to give it off as some type of altruistic cause of why he didn't want this woman to do that. Being phony right here. And it's going to, as we read on, it's going to show his real intentions right here. Read.
Verse 6. This he said, not that he cared for the poor.
He didn't care. Read.
But because he was a thief.
But because he was a what?
A thief.
Because he was a thief. That was the sin that Judas Iscariot was battling. That was what caused him to go off. But when we go to another example, it's going to show you on a spiritual level what activated him. Read on.
This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag, and bare what was put therein. Then said Jesus, let her alone, against the day of my burying hath she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always.
Mm-hmm. Let's get another account from one of the first 4 books so we can see some other things. Let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 22, verse 1 through 4. I'm almost there. Hold on. All right.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 22, and verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Then entered Satan into Judas.
Then what?
Then entered Satan into Judas.
That's that activation right there. It didn't take some man coming to Judas and try to influence him. Satan directly entered into Judas Iscariot, and he was activated. The sins that Judas Iscariot was battling in the flesh, the thorns that he was particularly dealing with, activated. Now all of a sudden, all the time that he had been with Christ, walking with him, learning from him, gone. Just went right out the window in his mind, and his sin took over, and he became a servant to Satan, servant to the devil. So it literally just like that, activated, ready to turn against Christ. And Christ knew it, because at the end of the day, this was all for purposes of prophecy. It had to happen. Somebody had to play that role. Likewise, somebody got to play the role of betrayers or traitors towards this truth in the future. Somebody got to play the role of the 2/3? Is it you? Pray that it's not. But also do the work to ensure that it will make your election sure. You got to do that. You got to literally fight with your tooth and nails to be amongst the elect, to show that you are chosen of the Most High God. Otherwise, you're a traitor in the making. You just waiting to show yourself manifested as a child of the devil. Read it again.
Luke chapter 22 and verse 3. Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him unto them.
So he, in my honest opinion, is a great example of an intentional Manchurian candidate. From there, let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 17 and 18. Because notice I said that Judas Iscariot was battling that particular sin in the flesh, but we all are. By one man, sin came into the world. And now all of us are dealing with these faulty bodies that are subject to sin. Let's see that. Read.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 16.
Start at verse 17 and read verse 18.
Book of Genesis, chapter 3 and verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, in sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life.
So it says, cursed is the ground for thy sake. Many Christians will read this and constantly believe that it's simply talking about the earth. But it's only when I came into this truth and the leaders and the teachers that this truth has set up taught us, I came to learn what that was really saying. What are our bodies made up of? Made up of water. What else is it made up of?
The dust of the ground.
The dust of the ground, right? The ground spoken of right here is going into our bodies. It says, cursed is the ground, meaning cursed is our bodies. And from it, we're going to have to eat from it all the days of our life. Because in it is only sin. The flesh is just full of sin. And each of us are battling different type of sins. Right? Just like we come out the womb with different eye colors, maybe different textures of kinky hair, different shades of skin of brown, right? Likewise, we also come out battling different type of sins. Your sin might be fornication. Many of our brothers and sisters, that's one of the number one sins that they're battling with is lust, adultery. Some, like Judas Iscariot, it was covetousness, wanting to take from others, to steal. You have to do self-examination and figure out what it is, what particular thorn in the flesh that you're battling with, and then you got to fight to conquer it, to mortify it, meaning to deaden it. Because if you don't, you're always going to be giving the devil a way in to try to take you down in this truth, in this walk. Finish it off.
Verse 18. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field.
Mm-hmm. So thorns and thistles shall it bring forth unto thee. It's going to be all these thorns. You're going to have to deal with it. Those thorns are going into those particular sins that you're going to have in the flesh. From there, let's go to Genesis chapter 4, verse 7.
The book of Genesis, chapter 4 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
Who wants to break that down? Let's get a mic. I want whoever breaks it down to stand up. Our brother Carlos, all praises.
Shalom leadership. Hello? Shalom leadership. Brother Jacob. Good.
All right, go ahead.
Can you read it again? I'm sorry.
Book of Genesis, chapter 4, and verse 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?
So if you do well, if you do well in this context, Cain and Abel, they are right now. They were giving out they're giving up their crops to the Most High, and Abel was giving up his first, versus Cain. He gave he gave the scraps, and it wasn't acceptable to the Most High.
You said
I mean-
Abel gave what?
Abel gave the first fruit, like his first set of crops.
No, Abel gave the animal, right?
I mean,
He
the
gave
animal.
animal sacrifice.
My apologies. My apologies. Yeah, I'm so sorry. My bad. He gave the clean, like basically what the Most High wanted,
Uh-huh.
and Cain gave what the Most High didn't want.
Uh-huh.
And read on.
And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door.
So at this moment, Cain has a choice to do well, but he chose to give the offering that the Most High didn't want to accept. Read.
And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
So with Cain with Cain realizing that the Most High was upset that he didn't, well, Cain was upset that the Most High wasn't feeling his offering. The Most High seen that and basically told him that, hey, if you continue in basically not wanting to, like you could try again and do better, but if you choose to stay in that feeling of how he didn't like my offering, then that's gonna manifest in you, seeing that the Most High is not feeling you for that moment, but he's like,
All right, so let
My bad.
me help you out.
all right,
All right. So it says, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, right?
Yep.
Do what God says to do. Keep his commandments, right? He giving you some orders. Do it, right? Do it exactly how he said to do it. Don't deviate to the left or to the right. Go down the middle where he says to go, all right? And it says, if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. If you decide that you aren't going to do what he says to do, sin lieth at the door. That door being your mind, right? Sin lieth at the door. It's literally right there, right? And it says, and unto thee shall be his desire. His desire is going to Cain. Cain, it says, and unto thee shall be his desire. Cain's desire. You understand?
Yes.
And it says, and thou shalt rule over him. Who's the thou? The devil. Right?
Yes, sir.
When you decide that you're not going to do what God says, sin into Zen, and the devil is going to rule over you. Sin is going to rule over you. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. So remember, the door to our mind is the door is our mind, right? Christ or the devil is going to be knocking at your door. Who are you going to let enter in? That's a question you're going to have to ask. Because whoever you let enter in, that's the one that's going to rule over you. That's the one who's going to cause you to activate and move according to how they want you to move. As a matter of fact, let's get the example of Christ being at the door. Let's go to Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. I'm going to start to pick it up soon. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse 1.
This is in red right here. Read.
And unto the angel of the church in Sardis write.
Nope, 3, verse 20.
3 verse 20, I'm sorry.
This is red letter right here. This is Christ speaking. One of these two individuals is going to be at the door. It's going to either be the devil or it's going to be Christ.
Book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me.
That's Christ right there. He stands at the door ready to come in. But we have to let him come in and accept him. And we do that through this right here, building ourselves up according to this right here. Not according to sin, but this right here. From there, let's go to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. Drop that definition on keep. We're going to go over it real quick. You know what? Don't draw it up just yet. You got Proverbs 23, verse 7?
Yes, sir.
Read.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 23 and verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he.
For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Remember, we said that earlier. You are what you think. You constantly meditate on these things that you learn in the world, or you're going to constantly meditate on the things that you learn in this truth. And it's going to dictate who you are. The word, it says is an action verb, right? So it says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's going to manifest in your actions. It's going to show by what you do. So you got to determine what's going to be allowed to even enter into your mind. Matter of fact, let's get that. I'm going to skip straight to that verse real quick. Let's go to Proverbs. Un momento. 4:23. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Drop that that definition on keep. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 23. Keep thy heart with all diligence.
Do what?
Keep thy heart with all diligence.
Keep thy heart with all diligence. Read on.
For out of it are the issues of life.
For out of it are the issues of life. Now, notice how it says the word keep, all right? We're going to drop a definition of the word keep. Did you pull this up on Google? Didn't I give you a definition? Look that up real quick. Let me see if I sent it to you. I might not have sent it to you. Yeah, I did send it to you. It says keep, the biblical archaic definition. That's it. There you go. Pull it up. All right, read, just read down to faithfulness. Or you know what? Yeah, read the whole paragraph.
Keep. In a biblical context, keep, Hebrew shamar, Greek terero, tero, excuse me. Keep means to guard, preserve, obey, watch over, and maintain with diligence and faithfulness. It involves protecting something from harm or loss, holding to something faithfully, such as commandments or promises, and sustaining something or someone in a certain state.
That's heavy right there. That is heavy. I want you to really think about that. Now let's read Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 again.
The book of Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23.
Uh-huh.
Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
It says keep thy heart. Not like one of the definitions it gave, which was guard, right? So we all know that heart is going into our minds. And for those of you who don't know that, go to Mark chapter 7, verse 21 to 23. It lets you know that your heart, when the Bible's talking about your heart, it's talking about your mind. So as we read in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, it says, keep thy heart, guard thy heart with all diligence. Whenever the word diligence is used too, this is the reason why I do love the wordplay of the Bible, because it doesn't just use regular words. It actually use words that show force behind it. It says that we need to guard our minds with all diligence. Because if we don't, Satan knocking on the door, eventually he's going to come right through that door. And then eventually over time, you're just going to activate. You're going to turn against God. You're going to turn against the nation and this truth. From there, let's go to the book of, what time did we start? 10 after? Okay. All right, from there, let's go to an example of the unintentional Manchurian candidate. This is somebody who's influenced by their environment unknowingly. All right? Let's go to the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 4. Let me get there real quick. Let's pick it up too, as far as speed. I'm about to move a little bit. All right, read on.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, and verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashions, an increase of Hellenish.
Nope. Read it again.
Now such was the height of Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners.
So it was spreading throughout the whole land because of the Greeks. They were spreading Hellenism, their culture, everywhere, to the point where even those who weren't raised in it were being influenced and caught up in it. Some of our people will, like, they didn't join in it willingly. They were forced in it. But some of our people, over time, by seeing it around them, it influenced them. Read.
Now such was the height of Greek fashions and the increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch and no high priest, that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastening to be partakers of the unlawful allowances in the place of exercise after the game of discus called them forth. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
So they were influenced by the environment. They saw everything that's going on around them, and it corrupted them, caused them to move away from the temple, to despise it, to move away from their duties. What was the job of the priest? Malachi chapter 2, verse 7. The law was supposed to come out of their mouth. But in this example, they themselves were influenced by Hellenism around them, and they decided to move away from it and started to what? To practice what the Greeks did. They decided to live according to Greekish fashions, and they turned against their own nation. That's what happens over time when there's not enough individuals to rise up and to fight against that level of influence. Now, we know as we read the Maccabees that eventually the Maccabees rose up and decided to fight against all that. They decided to fight for the nation of Israel, and they fought. Just read throughout the first Maccabees and second Maccabees, and you'll see they fought, and they fought valiantly. That's the same thing we got to do today. We got to fight valiantly. Read on.
Verse 16. By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers, whose customs they followed so earnestly, and unto whom they desired to be like in all things.
Sound familiar? Our own enemies who oppressed us in slavery, all manner of evil that they committed against us, We also look towards them to be our salvation. We also look towards the U.S. government to be our salvation. That's why we so earnestly try to vote. That's why we so earnestly feel passion, about various different type of politicians, whether it be the ones that we are for, like the Obamas, or the ones that we're against, like the Trumps. But at the end of the day, the system cannot save us. It can't. So at the end of the day, we see right here, a number of people were influenced by the prevailing culture at that time. Likewise, they're influenced today by the dominant culture. And that culture over time chips away at you. It could even chip at the very people that's in these walls right here, cause them to go back out into the world and decide that they don't want to support this truth anymore. So you, just like Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, you have to guard your mind. Guard what you allow to come into it. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. First Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33. Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners.
Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. There's all manner of communication that's around. Likewise, our forefathers dealt with it back in the days. Job, he dealt with it. Lot dealt with it. Vexed with the filthy conversation of all that was going on around him. Likewise, today, we have to deal with it. It's all around us. It's pervasive. Social media, your family, even some of the people within the walls, whatever they decide to talk about that's carnal, is everywhere. So, if this evil communication can corrupt you, notice how it says, evil communication, read it again.
Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners.
It didn't say maybe it will. It says, be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. It will do so. If you allow yourself to be exposed to evil communication consistently on and on and on and on and on and on, eventually it's going to corrupt you. I don't care how spiritually developed you think you are, how much of a veteran you think you are in this truth. If you keep your mind centered on worldly things and worldly information and not on this right here, eventually you're going to get corrupted. You're going to turn into that Manchurion candidate eventually. That's why the title of this class is what again? Manchurion candidate. Are you one in the making? From there, let's go to the book of Revelations, chapter 12, verse 15 to 16. Revelation chapter 12, verse 15 and 16.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 15. And the serpent cast out his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
So that flood that's going into its media, that's going into its various social persuasion, its lies that it tries to spread to carry our people away into believing. That's what that red dragon, Esau, the various nations of Esau is trying to do right now as we speak. Read it again.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
That woman is Israel. That's their job, is to keep trying to deceive us. Likewise, Most High God has set up something to counter that deception. And we're going to read it in the next verse. Read.
Verse 16. And the earth helped the woman.
And the earth helped the woman. Read.
And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
So that earth, once again, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 shows that man was made of the dust of the earth, made from the ground. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth. That's us going out there on the streets and preaching this word right here. It opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood, swallowed up the lies which the dragon cast out of his mouth. That's our job as the prophets, is to go out there and to swallow up all the lies. It's to bring our people into this body right here where we can further teach them this word right here, teach them the truth and destroy all the lies that's in their minds. Because we just going out to the street and compelling our people to come in, but the job ain't done. So much more work, so much more cleaning up of the mind. Just like the dragon is pouring out a flood of water, of its water, we also are trying to pour water on our people. Let's read about that. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26. We're also trying to brainwash our people, wash their minds, all right? Wash their minds of all the filth and pollution of this world. Come on.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 26, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
So that he might sanctify and cleanse it, cleanse the body, cleanse our mind, right? But this right here is saying cleanse the church right here. But it's also going into the cleansing of our minds right here, right? The way our minds get cleansed is by this word. And if you want to know what the word is fully talking about, Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20 says the law and the testimonies. That's what's going to cleanse our minds. From there, let's go to the book of Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. We almost finished. Revelation chapter 12, verse 17.
The book of Revelations, chapter 12 and verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman.
Read.
And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
So the dragon is wroth. We already see it. Notice I said is, because the work that we're doing out there is making the dragon wroth. We see this in France, and we're going to see it increasingly throughout the whole world, especially in the United States. We're going to see some heavy stuff going on. We're moving into some serious times right now, Israel. For real, for real. Get your minds ready. Gird up the loins of thy mind. So we know that by going out there and dispelling all the lies and swallowing up all the lies and teaching our people the truth, the dragon is going to become increasingly wroth with us. And eventually it's going to come down hard on us here in the United States and wherever we're doing the work. All right? From there, let's get into it. How do we prevent ourselves from becoming an unintentional Manchurion candidate? Let's get into it. All right, let's go to Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. How do we prevent ourselves from being influenced unknowingly by our environment and outside sources?
The book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth.
Never stop talking about this word right here. We have to constantly be talking about it with each other. The day we stop talking about this word right here, you know you're out the truth. Read.
But thou shalt meditate therein day and night.
That's the key right there. When you're meditating on this word day and night, do you have time to constantly be meditating on the things of the world, like social media and everything that's going on? Now, we know at the end of the day, we got to do other things in this world. We got to sustain ourselves with work, and we also have to keep ourselves abreast of the thing that's going on in the world. So I'm not saying that we have to completely cut off social media, but nonetheless, scriptures say day and night. It's letting you know how often we should be in this word right here. And when you're keeping yourself in this word right here, all the other influences outside are going to have a hard time breaking into your mind. This is you keeping your mind well guarded when you're in this Bible right here. Finish it off.
This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy ways prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
You're going to have great success. From there, let's go to Sirach 33. 33, verse 27.
So the book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 27. Send him to labor, that he be not idle, for idleness teaches much evil.
Another way to prevent yourself from being influenced by all the things that's going on around you in the world. You got to keep yourself busy. Idle time is the devil's time, Israel. You got to keep yourself busy. There's so much work to do in this truth right here. The laborers are truly few. We need more laborers. There's so much work to do. Some of this work, it's not even frontline work. Some of this work is the logistics. Some of this work is the communication. Jump in. Get in where you can fit in. When you're doing that, that means you're spending less of your time on worldly things and more of your time on the work of the truth. Your mind is centered on this right here. From there, let's go to Sirach chapter 3, verse 12. Chapter 37, verse 12. Sirach 37, verse 12.
The book of Sirach, chapter 37 and verse 12. But be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry.
So the scriptures say be continually with a godly man. It says that's who we should be spending the majority of our time around. You are who you hang around, Israel. If you're spending your time around your co-workers all the time, your worldly co-workers, your wicked worldly-ass family, or even just by yourself, you honestly believe you're not going to be influenced? You honestly believe that your mind ain't going to eventually be corrupted over time? Stop deceiving yourself, Israel. You got to be continuously around the godly. Do your best to be around them. That's one of the key ways that you can prevent yourself from being negatively influenced. Just like they say that it's an echo chamber. When you whoever you surround yourself with, you're in an echo chamber. If you're surrounded by wicked, worldly people in the world, that's your echo chamber. Eventually, it's gonna influence your mind. But if you're surrounded by godly people, that's your echo chamber right there. It's also going to influence your mind. So be continuously amongst the godly, and it's going to help to fortify your mind. From there, let's go into how to prevent yourself from becoming an intentional Manchurion candidate like Judas Iscariot, who fell to his own sins and desires. All right? Let's go to Colossians chapter 3.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth.
Kill, therefore your members are therefore upon the earth. Now, it's not saying that you need to go and cut off, some part of your body. But that's going into you deadening the sins that's within your flesh. Read on.
Fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
And covetousness, that's exactly what Judas Iscariot suffered from, right? Covetousness. Read.
For which things' sake the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience, in which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. But now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds.
All these things right here are part of the old man. We're all seeking to become new men within Jesus the Christ. Are we not? So all these things right here, you have to put them off. You have to deaden them. You have to crucify them with the flesh. You have to constantly fight against them. From today all the way to the day you die or Christ comes back. This is what the Bible commands us to do right here. Deaden, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth. It's a tough fight, but you can do it if you're serious, if you're diligent. From there, let's go to Galatians chapter 5. 3 more scriptures. Galatians chapter 5.
Start at 16.
Yep. Start at verse 16, then we're going to jump down to 22 to 24.
Book of Galatians, chapter 5 and verse 16. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
So, in order for us to overcome this flesh right here and all the sins that's in it and what it wants to do and how it wants to corrupt you, it says right here, you got to walk in the Spirit. We have to walk according to this word right here. Jump down.
Verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such things there is no law.
Against such thing, there is no law. Right? We're not under you can't be condemned for any of these things right here because these are the fruits of the flesh. So once you put off that old man, you need to start producing fruits, the fruits of the Spirit, which the new man is walking in. That's something that Judas Iscariot couldn't overcome. He couldn't overcome his old man, his old self, which was a thief. Can you overcome yourself, which is a fornicator in the world, an adulterer, a murderer? Is that it?
Yes, sir.
No, read verse 24.
Oh, verse 24. And they that have Christ, and they that are Christ, have crucified the flesh with the affections of lust. If
with the affections and lust. With the affections and lust. From there, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 58.
Therefore,
my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast.
Be what?
Steadfast.
Be ye steadfast. Let's look up. Draw that up. Put it on the screen. Let's see what steadfast says. Read that for me.
Steadfast. Fast fixed, firm, firmly fixed or established as the steadfast globe of earth. Constant, firm, resolute.
I like that word. Are you resolute? Are you resolute in this truth right here? Read.
Not fickle or wavering.
Not fickle or wavering. Go ahead.
Abide steadfast to thy neighbor in the time of his trouble. Him resist, steadfast in the faith.
So when you talk about steadfast, we just summarize it in one word as well. Loyalty. Are you loyal to this truth right here? Ask yourself this question. Are you loyal to the truth? Are you steadfast? That's what the scriptures command us to be. Steadfast. Read that scripture again.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable.
Unmovable. Read.
Always abounding in the work of the Lord.
Always growing in the work of the Lord, meaning you ain't keeping yourself idle. Remember, we just read that scripture. You should, instead of just in not working or more or less doing as little as you can or staying at the same level of work you're doing, the scriptures are saying you should be abounding in the work, growing. Finish it off.
For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord.
Is not in vain in the Lord. You ain't doing this for nothing. There is a reward at the end. So scriptures command us to prevent us from becoming a traitor to this truth. We have to kill the old man, deaden the flesh, deaden the sins that's within the flesh. We have to start producing fruits of the Spirit, and we got to be steadfast, unmovable in this truth. That's how you're going to be able to deal with the flesh, and that's how you're going to prevent yourself from becoming that Manchurion candidate, both intentionally and unintentionally. From there, let's go to the last scripture, 1 John.
So the book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 10.
Uh-huh.
In this the children of God are manifest.
And this the what?
Children of God are manifest.
So, manifest. If you look at the definition, it means made known or made obvious, right? It says, in this, the children of God are made known. Read on.
And the children of the devil.
And the children of the devil. When the curtains close on this world right here, this whole system, it's going to be known who each and every one of us are, who we are destined to become. Our testimonies are not written yet. We don't know who we are all going to be at the very end. All we can do is try to work diligently right now to prove our election sure, but eventually, each one of us is going to manifest into who we're supposed to be. You're either going to be a child of God, or you're going to be a child of the devil. You're going to be that Manchurion candidate in the works who eventually is going to wake up and be like, I'm the traitor. I'm going to turn against this truth. Is that you? Time will tell. With that, I'm going to say shalom. Most High Christ bless. All praise.
Across the earth, the prophets move. From city streets to distant lands, the message is the same. Israel must rise. Through every quest, every journey, the truth spreads. No border can contain it. No distance can silence it. Our nation lives in every moment. In joy, we celebrate marriages. In sorrow, we honor our dead. On the Sabbath, we gather as one. Families rejoicing together, bound by the commandments of God. Yet are we tried. From the stones in Kenya to the hatred in Montana, we endure as a soldier of the Lord. And still, the mission expands. On the airways, on the screens, in every nation under heaven, Israel's voice is heard. We build our communities. We raise our children in royalty. We restore what was broken. We clean what was defiled. We show the world who we are. This is Israel united in Christ. Nation in motion. Nation endures.